the biggest empire you've never heard of. Hey there, Speedy, welcome to my channel. Today we going to cover the history of the Persian Empire, from its origins to its destruction in 65 minutes or less. And as always, if you want to know more, check out the additional resources. Now, if you've been following for a while, you'll know that empires are my jam. From the longest to the largest, weirdest, or most influential, I love them all. But despite this, there is one great empire that I feel like I haven't given enough love to yet. And that's the Persian Empire. So today, let's do just that. Let's talk about one of the greatest empires in history, the Persian Empire. Now, before we dive into the Persian Empire proper, we have to talk about its predecessors, the Medes and the... See? The Persian Empire didn't pop out of nowhere. It had a long history before it reached its peak. And to understand where they came from, we need to look at these two groups, the Medes and the Persians. The Medes lived further north in the region of Media and were known for their skill in horsemanship and their use of cavalry in battle. Meanwhile, the Persians lived to the south in the region of Pars or Fars, and were known for being nomads who herded flocks of sheep, goats, and cattle. Both peoples were Indo-European, meaning they shared some common characteristics due to their ancestry. And over time, the similarities between the two cultures became so great that historians consider them to be sister nations. And now it's time for our first proper Persian Empire, the Achaemenid Empire. Now, if you've ever wanted to learn about world history but felt intimidated by the sheer amount of dates and names, then boy, do I have the solution for you. Now, back to the video. Now, although the Persians and the Medes were similar in many ways, they were quite different in others. In fact, they were so different that for much of their early history, they were often at war with each other. That was until the rise of Cyrus the Great, a Median nobleman. Cyrus rose through the ranks to eventually become king of Media. And during his reign, he set out to conquer the central plateau of Iran, which included the Persian heartland. At first, the Persians resisted the Median rule, but eventually Cyrus won them over by adopting some of their customs and incorporating them into his own culture. This fusion of Median and Persian culture marked the beginning of the Persian Empire. After conquering the region, Cyrus turned his attention outward, subjugating the nomadic tribes to the east and defeating the Assyrians to the west. Under his rule, the empire reached from central Iran all the way to the Indus Valley and from the Caucasus Mountains to the Arabian Peninsula. Cyrus was quite a character. He was a warrior, sure, but he was also a lawmaker and an urban planner. He founded several cities, including the capital of Pasargadae, and he established a system of roads that connected the vast empire. But perhaps his greatest contribution was his Cyrus Cylinder, a declaration of human rights that outlined the freedoms and equality of all people under his rule. It is considered to be one of the earliest documents of its kind, and a precursor to the Magna Carta and the United States Declaration of Independence. After Cyrus's death, his son, Cambyses II, took the throne and expanded the empire even further, conquering Egypt and setting his sights on conquering the rest of the known world. Cambyses' campaigns were wildly successful. But after his untimely death, the empire fell into a civil war. When Darius the Great emerged victorious, he set about stabilizing the empire and securing its borders. He divided the empire into satrapias or provinces, each ruled by a satrapia or governor, who was responsible for collecting taxes and enforcing laws. This administrative system allowed the empire to function smoothly and efficiently, and it helped to ensure that the different cultures and religions within the empire were respected. Darius also led several military campaigns to expand the empire's borders. He defeated the Greeks at the Battle of Marathon, and he campaigned against the Egyptians and the Scythians. But despite his military successes, Darius realized that the empire was too vast to effectively control. So he focused his attention on consolidating power and securing the borders. Now, while the Persian Empire was at its peak, it was home to some of the most impressive architecture in the ancient world. The capital city of Persepolis was a grand showcase of the empire's wealth and power, featuring palaces, gardens, and monumental gates. The city of Susa was another center of culture and learning. housing the royal library, which was one of the largest in the ancient world. The empire's engineers also built impressive roads, bridges, and aqueducts, which helped to connect the vast empire and improve the lives of its people. Another thing that made the Persian Empire unique was its religious tolerance. Unlike many other empires at the time, the Persians did not force their religion on their subjects. Instead, they allowed people to practice their own faiths freely, which led to a flourishing of religious diversity throughout the empire. The empire's respect for different religions was embodied by King Darius, who built fire temples for Zoroastrian priests and synagogues for the Jews. Sadly, the Persian Empire would come to an end when Alexander the Great invaded in 330 BCE despite fierce resistance. The Persians were ultimately defeated, and the empire was divided among Alexander's generals. But the legacy of the Persian Empire lived on in the cultural and architectural achievements that they left behind. Their influence can still be seen in the art and architecture of Iran and other parts of the Middle East. And their contributions to science, mathematics, and philosophy had a lasting impact on the ancient world. So what did we learn? Well, first, the Persian Empire was huge, stretching from central Iran to Egypt and parts of Eastern Europe. Second, the empire was incredibly diverse, being home to many different cultures, languages, and religions. Third, the Persians were skilled administrators and engineers, creating a complex system of roads, aqueducts, and other infrastructure projects. Fourth, the empire was religiously tolerant, allowing people to practice their faiths freely. And fifth, the Persian Empire was ultimately doomed by its size and the ambitions of outside conquerors. Well, that's all we have time for today. But if you want to know more about the Persian Empire, check out the additional resources. And as always, thanks for watching.